G'day guys, this is Rob from Troutlore.com.au, Australia's fly tying specialist store. Today we're tying my version of the classic bomber fly. I call this the Rubicon Bomber, named after the river that I first caught fish on it about 7 years ago. It takes the similar colour palette to Fran Better's classic Ossable Bomber, but more of a shape like the classic salmon fly bomber patterns in a smaller size with a lot less effort. It's quick and easy to tie, and it catches fish. So let's get started. We are going to start off with an Ahrex FW 500 in a size 10 dry fly hook. I fish these in 10s and 12s. They're big, they're bold, they flutter about on the surface, and that's what gets the fish's attention. Then we're going to use Veevus 60 thread in red. It doesn't matter what thread you use. You can use Veevus, you can use Uni, you can use UTC, Danville's. It just has to be red. Why? Because the first one I tied to these was with red thread. It caught me fish, and since then I've used nothing else. It's superstitious. You've got to use red. Now for the wing and the tail, it's done with one material in one process. We use calf tail. So what we're going to do is take a clump of that, trimmed as close to the bone as possible, then pinch that, pull out the fluffies at that end, then pinch from here and pull out all the fluffy stuff from that end. Then we just want to have about a half a hook shank's worth sticking out beyond the bend of the hook. Hold that down with our left hand, and then a couple of loose wraps around, and then pull up on the hook. Then we'll just advance our thread forward gently towards the hook eye. Pull all of that thread, pull all that hair upwards, and then bring the thread forward again. Pull it up, and then once we're about a hook eye's short of the end of the hook, we want to wrap underneath to lock that thread, pull that hair back, and build up a bit of a thread dam right behind the hair, not pushing too far forward. We still want to leave ourselves room to whip finish there, but that is going to push that hair up nicely and hold it in position. Then we're going to take our thread and work it back down the hook shank, pulling the tail up as we go so it doesn't wrap around the shank of the hook, and bring it down to the bend to lock it in place. Next is the hackle. For this, I've taken hackles from a Lost Fly saddle hackle pack. You want something like a grizzly style hackle. I usually use one of the more gingery ones. Taking this feather, we're going to strip one side of it. So thumb and forefinger with your thumbnail on the right side, pinch those fibres and pull them down, and we just work our way up that feather, stripping off one side. This will expose the center core of that feather to wrap onto the hook. It gives a more even, consistent wrap, which will improve the spacing of the palmed hackle. They won't cross over each other, and it'll allow you to see more of the dubbing colour coming through, yet still give you a nice amount of hackle to keep this thing floating high and dry. So once we've advanced up the feather a fair way, we are then going to strip just a half a dozen or so from the other side, so that we're left with some bare stem. Let's take a few more off. That's for us to tie in. Then we want to hold it so that the exposed side of the stem is facing into the hook shank, and tie that on, because that's going to wrap over with the stem onto the hook shank. So you want to start it off like that, a couple of wraps around, one wrap around the hook shank just to anchor that thread, and then you can pull that bare stem up and lock it into place. Then we'll bring our thread up to about the halfway mark on the shank and add our last ingredient, which is hare's ear plus dubbing in a rustic orange. So this is a hare's ear, and it's got anther on it as well, so a little bit of sparkle in there just to capture the light. I'm going to do a nice slow process here, bit by bit, adding some dubbing wax to the thread, and then just adding very, very small amounts of this dubbing to create a nice thin noodle. Don't want to put too much on at once. We can keep adding and adding. Can't take it away. So then from the center, we're going to work back down towards that hackle while the dubbing needle is quite thin. Capture it right at the edge of the hackle and then start working forward. We want to get a nice taper running up the body here. So we just keep adding more dubbing as we go. Just the tiniest pinch. You can see how little I'm taking off there. And then applying that to the thread so it keeps a nice thin noodle. And that allows us to control how much goes on. I'll bring that forward. I'm going to go up to the hook eye with a thinner amount of dubbing, and then work back down the hook shank to even out that taper. So once we get up there, we'll add some more dubbing to this thread and slowly work our way back down to that center point to continue building the taper up. That's where we've hit level. Now we're going to start coming forward. Again, apply some more dubbing to the thread. Takes a little bit of time, but it gets you the better result. If you just pile too much dubbing on to begin with, it clumps up, the thread ends up cutting through it, and it doesn't actually give you the solid build that you want on that hook shank. Okay, we're almost there now. Bring that forward for the last few wraps. And there is our taper. Now, just to make it easier on the dubbing process, we're just going to trim out these longer fibres of dubbing just so the feathers wrap in more evenly and don't get pushed aside by it. Give that a bit of a trim. There is our body shape. Now, I just pop a half hitch in around the hook eye just to secure that thread in place, and then bring one wrap back just behind the wing. Now to bring our hackle forward, pick that up, wrapping over the back of the hook, watching the hook eye as we come over, the hook point as we come over, and then bring that forward, evenly spaced wraps. About 1.5 mm, 2 mm gap between each one, so you can still see the colour of the dubbing coming through there. Wrap forward, go one more, and we'll jam an extra one in right behind the wing, holding that hackle straight up. We take the thread behind the hackle once, behind the hackle again, swap hands, pull the hackle back, in front of the hackle, swap hands, pull the hackle forward and do one wrap again behind. That's going to hold it in place, it's not going anywhere. And then we'll just use a half hitch tool and put a half hitch in on the hook eye, keeping tension on the thread. So as we pull down, we'll just spin the half hitch tool to allow it to slide down with tension on. That's locked that thread off. The hackle's not going anywhere. So now we can come in with our scissors, just trim the hackle close. At this point, we're almost done. We just want to build that thread down up a little more and then come in with a whip finish. Just want to be careful on doing this not to capture any of the wing or the hackles, so work that whip finisher around. Just a 3-turn whip finish and another 3-turn whip finish. That builds up that little bit of red at the head. Trim that off. And then finally, pull the wing up and just a little bit above the hackle, trim it straight. Gives you a little head like on an Alcare caddis. And then you have the fluffy tail out the back. That's it. Super simple, quick and easy. That said, it took me 12 minutes to show you how to do it. I do tend to ramble a bit, I'm sorry about that. But this fly will catch fish, it will skitter all over the surface, it will behave erratically as a dry fly, and the fish just can't say no. So tie a few for yourself, get out there, catch some fish with them, have fun. That's the Rubicon Bomber. Thank you very much everyone for watching. If you liked the video, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel so that you can see more videos, hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when I do these videos. And once again, thanks for watching.